Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. Me. This will be about my investigating what the heck are they dumping into the sky? Sky spraying. Maybe called geoengineering, weather control, weather warfare, population reduction, genetic engineering. Is somebody altering the DNA and genetic makeup of planet Earth? Is somebody messing with Mother Nature? So this is November 30th, 2018. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I have been photographing and making videos when the cameras had that capability. When I first started my investigation, I photographed many pictures every day, every week, every month, every year since 2005, the dumping of chemicals into the sky. Long lines of chemicals, maybe biologicals, one after another, painting the sky. And then the wind blows them around and the whole sky becomes pasty white, obviously blocking out and interfering with the sun's rays, which are necessary for human health, vegetation health, animal health, the water, the insects, bugs, birds, bees, everything. So who would be messing with Mother Nature? Who would be, I don't know what you call it when you terraform a planet. You change its current physics. It's trying to make it into something else. Terraforming, geoengineering, manipulation, DNA manipulation, GMOs, all these things, eugenics, superhumans, other types of beings. Lots of keywords there. So I pay attention and ask myself, WTH, what the heck is going on? Does that sound logical? You can look up and you can see them doing it. So when I first started out, the cameras we had back in 2005, or at least the one I had, the ones I had, weren't really conducive to making videos and narrating what you see and all that. So I took pictures, and of course back then we didn't have these hard drives we have today. So I was putting the pictures on these discs. Every week, every month, every year since 2005. All kinds of discs. 2011, sky spraying. So it was just a system I had to document what I was doing. This is 2011. So I have one of these for 2005 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And who knows if I'll continue paying attention to this in 2019. Maybe I have enough information. So anyways, somewhere around 2011 and 12, I didn't put them on CDs anymore. I put everything onto these things. And I have about a dozen of these full of the pictures. And my other videos I've been making in several series, Freemasonry and Satanism. My live streaming events I did in July and August 2018. After 2 months of that, not quite 2 months, YouTube shut me down. Terminated my capability of live streaming my noontime shows 7 days a week. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? haven't made a video in a week or so. I've been traveling. So that's what this video is about. My paying attention to the dumping of chemicals in the sky from November 16th until the 29th, 2018, and my trip to Florida from the mountains of North Carolina to go visit the family for Thanksgiving. Something I haven't done for about 18 months, so I guess you gotta go, whether you want to or not. Get with everybody and turkey dinner, and went from the Tampa coast over to the East Coast, Delray, and back up to Jacksonville. So I left North Carolina, went down through Greenville and Highway 75 on the west coast of Florida, down to Tampa, spent a couple days, crossed over to the East Coast, Delray, and Boynton Beach, and came up the coast to Jacksonville. Spent 3 days down there with a family relative in a motel room in Jacksonville. So about an 8-day trip. And it was astonishing, to say the least, concerning the sky spraying of chemicals in the sky. And coincidentally enough, some strange news, press releases about the President Donald Trump's presidency and his administration apparently being in a sort of a denial mode, not agreeing with the so-called scientists, declaring that if we don't take emergency action against the threat of global warming, the whole thing's going to go up in flames and destroy the economy, the world, and people are going to die, and the ocean is going to rise, and forests are all going to burn down, etc., etc., etc. So what is the truth, having said all of that? So I pay attention and try to use my intelligent brain after paying attention to these things since 2005. Before I began my investigation, honestly, I was oblivious to all of this, and if you'd have mentioned it to me, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have thought you were out there, nuts. So I ask myself now and then, why me? Why did I have to start looking into this stuff? I guess maybe we're all destined to do whatever we came to Earth to do. We were born here. We were spiritual beings before we came to Earth. And we'll be spiritual beings again when we leave. So I believe. And a lot of the religions and other teachings from different religions and indigenous peoples throughout history have taught. So some people believe in reincarnation, some don't. Some people believe in the spiritual realm and some don't. Some people don't want to believe in the conspiracies going on right now, and some people do. Some people want to call it conspiracy theories. It's not happening, even though you can go out with your camera and take a picture of the dumping of chemicals. And with the technologies we have today, with the zooming capabilities and binoculars and telescopes, you can really get a good bird's eye view of what's up there, what they're doing, besides all the thousands and millions of videos on YouTube and websites like Dane Wigington's geoengineeringwatch.org, Richie from Boston, and so many others are reporting on this geoengineering, weather control, weather warfare, whatever you want to call it, involving 5G and other microwave transmissions and HARP transmissions, these 40-acre sites, Alaska, Puerto Rico, Norway, India, all over the world, triangulation. And so they can bounce these huge fields of electricity, electromagnetic radiation, off the ionosphere and over onto maybe your city or your state. And apparently they can give us a narrow beam and have some kind of directed energy. These sciences, these technologies are real. This is not a theory. These are facts. You can go see some videos from the military, and I encourage people to do it. But look up laser beams off of aircraft, military laser beams, HAARP, H-A-A-R-P transmitters, 5G, dangerous microwave systems, AI, artificial intelligence, and chemtrailing, and evidence of stringy stuff falling from the sky. So who knows what they're dumping? Not excluding the fact that I made a couple book reviews in my Freemasonry and Satanism series about the powers that be, our governments, testing these chemicals and biological weapons on us in our cities, in the subways, off the shores, ships parked offshore in gigantic fans, and they were blowing these biologicals, flu viruses, etc., weaponizing them, testing them, to see what would happen. Series number 17, Leonard Horowitz's book, AIDS, Ebola, Viruses, and Leonard Cole, series 18, Clouds of Secrecy. So series 17 and 18, please go watch my video book reviews. And then, of course, I got the one about the limits to growth and the government's obsession with overpopulation, series 27. The population bomb, series 35, excuse me. And many more if you've been watching my Freemasonry and Satanism series. There appears to be, these are some of the books I will be making book reviews on right away in the Freemasonry and Satanism series. But even during my 8 days on my vacation, and since I made the last series in Freemasonry and Satanism, I've been reading. I've been reading a lot, and I've got several books lined up right away to make a video on. This one was awesome. I'm still reading it. Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. Michael A. Hoffman II. Millennium. Peace promised in the day they take our money away. Biblical prophecies. Cashless societies. The mark of the beast, microchipping we the people. All the preparations are being made. Outside forces controlling the Federal Reserve in the United States. Tex Mars. You can go to his website and see his material. I made another book review on his book, Mysterious Monuments. I think that's series 26 or something, 25. I can't see the number from here. It's on my bookshelf. Another one, I made a book review on Constance Coombe book. Her other book, Beware of the Rainbow. And I just got this one in the mail. A Planned Deception. The Staging of a New Age Messiah. So you're asking yourself, well, Rick, I thought this video was on Skyspring. Weaponized microwaves, weather control, weather warfare, climate change, an attack on humanity. Well, it is. And I think the topic of this book, Constance Coombe, and these other ones I'm showing you, are just another component to this attack on humanity, on the world that we know it. And according to biblical prophecy, this is what was supposed to happen. A planned deception. I've talked about these books. I haven't actually made videos on them, but they are kind of interesting. Here's one. Interesting for a couple reasons. The Live Earth Global Warming Survival Handbook. What do you believe? The polar bears are not going to have any ice to hop around on? But look who wrote this book right above the polar bear. David de Rothschilds. Now that's a bit suspicious, knowing that the Rothschilds are part of the Illuminati cult that helped negotiate the acquisition of the Palestinians' land so they could create the state of Israel. So they were also negotiating during World War I and World War II, controlling the banking system, taking over the United States banking system 6 months prior to World War I, December 21st. The winter solstice, where the sun goes to its furthest southerly point, making the northern hemisphere have winter. And it's also a popular witchcraft holiday in a lot of these secret societies into the Babylonian religions, Kabbalah, etc., Zohar. So Rothschilds, part of the Illuminati, who control the Freemasons, etc., and so much more. And involved in World War I, World War II, 9/11, bringing us the State of Israel, which the current president, Donald Trump, says the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, fulfilling the prophecy of a couple thousand years. Rothschilds writes this book. You think they're mocking us? Here we go. Befriend Your Farmer. Global Warming Survival Handbook. Befriend your farmer. Well, if the Illuminati elite, a la Rothschilds, Morgan, Schiffs, and the top banks, and Israel are controlling our world, hence controlling these technologies to control the weather, and the electromagnetic transmission systems, 5G, AI, artificial intelligence, computer systems, HAARP, HAARP, and the Rothschild family's at the top of that, publishing this little book that's kind of humorous, actually. Another one here, A Case for Climate Engineering. I haven't made a video on these books. I need to take the time and do it. But there's plenty of books out there. David Keith. Just making a point, I've been paying attention to these issues for quite a while. So I got a couple pictures here before I start going over the videos. But before I do that, I want to just do about 5 minutes or 6 minutes of the videoing I did before I left on my vacation to Florida. November the 16th, one day, several short videos, me documenting them dumping chemicals here in the mountains of North Carolina. Check this out, and I'll be back to talk about some other material and then do a couple more videos and then talk about some more material, then do a couple more videos, then talk about some more documents and do a couple more videos to kind of take you through my last 8 or 9 days when I went to Florida, how it evolved going through Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and coming back, and the sky spraying, chemtrailing, geoengineering, weather warfare, weather control, etc. What the heck, WTH, is going on? November 16th, Friday, 2018, about 9:45 this morning. A little bit of frost on these mountains. Got down to 28 degrees here in the mountains of North Carolina. A little bit of ice on the mountains. And evidence of dumping stuff, chemicals in the sky. No doubt about it. Straight lines falling apart, I call splotches. No clouds in the sky that I can see. And evidence of electromagnetic radiation. Ripples in this stuff that's dumped in the sky. Looking like somebody went through it with a cheese slicer. Only electromagnetic radiation does that. Because they're dumping apparently heavy metals, according to my research. Blue over here, the color the sky should be, but more evidence towards the south. Clear evidence, even between the trees here. There you have it on this Friday morning. We're being sprayed like we're bugs. Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. Are they spraying where you live today? November 16th, about 10:30 on this Friday, 2018. Taking a check on the sky, noticing clearly these are not clouds. Line after line after line after line, and then they blow apart and become splotches, as you can see. They have sharp edges, blowing with the breeze this way. So they're dumping the chemicals into the sky. It's blowing helter-skelter, and you can see these straight lines, one on top of the other. No mistaking it. Not clouds. So what are they dumping and why? Is it nefarious? Are we gonna die? I believe something's up. Something nefarious and sinister. Rick Miracle reporting. November 16th, about 11:30 on this Friday, 2018. The bizarreness continues. Doesn't appear anything I'm looking at is clouds. All dumped chemicals blowing in the breeze, as you can see. Short lines, big splotches. Why would anybody be dumping this much stuff in the sky, and what is it, and what can it do? What are they doing in your neighborhood? Obviously not clouds, clearly blowing in the breeze like strings. You can see this one was dumped directly into the wind, blowing like an arrow. Some are parallel to the wind and shear off to one direction or the other. Not mistaking it. Dumped stuff. Chemical, biological, combination of the two. We don't know because they don't tell us. Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina on this crispy, cold day. November 16th, about 11:34 on this Friday. Here's an odd little dump in the sky, as you can see. Has a little stubby end on it, not continuous. Dumped material from a plane. And when the stuff spreads apart, it looks like this stuff or this stuff. None of these are clouds. And weirdly enough, 3 military jet fighters just flew by my sky. Look like AWACS with big dishes on the back of them in some kind of formation. Anyways, strange things going on in our reality. So I video and photograph and monitor it and document it. All of this stuff in the sky appears to be dumped chemicals. I don't see any clouds. And that's kind of amazing because look at all the white stuff we can see. It does not look like puffy, gaseous water vapor. It looks like dumped stuff blowing in the breeze. Here's one spraying as I watch. Rick Miracle reporting from a valley south of Asheville, North Carolina, with a grand view of the sky, as you can see. There's a 360. November 16th, about 11:54, a few minutes to noon on this Friday. Looked outside and, oh my, there's no doubt about it. Dumping of chemicals continues all over the sky here in the mountains of North Carolina. All these long cigar-looking lines and fresh sprayed lines. Intentional painting the sky pasty white with these chemicals. Is there any doubt about it? Is there any doubt? What are they dumping and why? Should we trust them, considering everything else that's going on? Amazon's Electra, Google's devices where you can ask questions to these devices and they'll talk to you, and they're monitoring you, AI, artificial intelligence, 5G, dangerous microwave systems being set in place, the pursuit of a global world order. Together, it just spells a recipe for something evil, in my opinion. Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. November 16th, about 12:03. Just noticing the dumped chemicals floating across the sky with the breeze. None of what you see appears to be clouds. So what do you think? Nothing to worry about, right? I don't think so. I think it's nefarious and detrimental to human health, i.e. sinister. Look at that big fat one. These thin ones will get fatter and fatter. Obviously, the one on the bottom is not so old, recent dumping. But the one on the top, it's been up there a little while. And it turns into these big splotches like this after a while. Everything dumped is chemicals. Maybe some biologicals, nano technology. Stuff we can breathe in and get in our bodies. Just saying. Concerning to me. Is it concerning to you? Rick Miracle reporting. It looks like some rainbow colors in the material right there. November 16th. About 3 p.m. 2018. It's been one crazy spray day, as you can see. Nothing looks like clouds here. Now that's just too much to believe. But apparently, if you look at it, you see the long lines everywhere, long lines, spray lines. Zoom in, you can see it's spray lines, it's not clouds. Everywhere you look, spray lines. So lordy, lordy, is that a lot of stuff to dump in the sky? Unbelievable. Here in the mountains of North Carolina. What is going on? Rick Miracle reporting. Unbelievable. November 16th, about 3:50, about 10 minutes to 4, 2018 on this Friday. And lordy, lordy, you wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. Line after line, even crisscrossing. And all day they've been dumping these chemicals. You can see it's dumped chemicals. See the space of blue here? And this long cigar looking thing. All this is dumped chemicals merging together, painting the sky with these chemicals. You can see they're stacked up on each other. When they blow apart, they spread apart. Unbelievable today. It is kind of ominous, don't you think? Just pan around and look around and see what they're doing and ask ourselves, why are they doing it? It cannot be good for humanity when they're trying to bring us a global world order and so much chaos and anarchy in the world. This is just another component of it, in my opinion. Rick Merico reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. Unbelievable, actually. Left and right, up and down, all around, helter-skelter. It's gotta cost a lot of money, by the way, to dump all this stuff into the sky. That's not incidental air traffic. This is intentional, painting the sky, filling it with chemicals. Why? 16th. About 4:30 on this Friday. One unbelievable sky spraying day. Here's a plane spraying as I look up. Here he goes, streaking through the sky, dumping stuff while I watch. Fresh lines everywhere, thin lines, thick lines. Most of everything I see in the sky is not clouds. I don't see too much that I would call a cloud at this moment. You can see the edges. They're not puffy like bears or giraffes or anything. Something you'd look up and say, that looks like that, or that looks like that. No, these are dumped chemicals, maybe biologicals. You'd almost think we're under attack. When could they add some crazy things to these concoctions? Some kind of biological weapon or something. Toxin, poison. I'm just saying. Everything else that's going on, this is concerning. Line after line, all day long I've been taking these videos. What the heck is going on here in the mountains of North Carolina? How are they doing where you live? Are they spraying you like you're a bug? November 16th, about 5:13 on this Friday evening, 2018. Trying to zoom in on this. Line after line after line after line after line. And look at this, was a straight line on the left, and the stuff is blowing this way. Clearly. There's a core on this side here, and apparently the wind in the sky is blowing this way, so this powder is blowing this way. It's not gaseous. There comes a spray line right out of this stuff. Crazy enough. You can see it. So what are they doing? Give me a break. All of this is sprayed chemicals. And this crispy, kind of some kind of color in the middle of this one. So what kind of chemicals would give it a color that's not normal in the sky? Strange anomalies. Should we be concerned? Rick Merico reporting. Is there any doubt in anybody's mind watching this video, or people you talk to, that the powers that be, whoever they are, whatever their reasons, is there any doubt that they're dumping stuff in the sky? Is there any doubt they have these 40-acre HAARP transmitters strategically located all over the world that can bounce huge signals off of the ionosphere and the Earth? And they can pulse them. Boom, boom, Boom! And what would a pulsed beam do when it bounces off the ionosphere and it hits an area like offshore Japan or other places, California? Could it cause earthquakes or even spark volcanoes to eruption? What causes all these things? And have they been working on technologies so that they can actually take control of the weather? Like Dane Wigington shows in his videos, that video about Woodrow Wilson, I believe it is, who says, if we control the weather, we can control the world. What are we dealing with? With these people running something like the Phoenix program, the Vietnam War, all that planned death and destruction. I need to make a video on this book. And so many other books. But I just want to look at a couple pictures, then we'll look at another one of my videos I took. But 2015, all across the United States, they had something going on called Jade Helm 15. And they were transporting United Nations, UN, white vehicles, their trucks and equipment, and military tanks and equipment and troops. And in certain areas and cities, they were going door to door, running exercises, training programs, preparing for martial law. All training exercises. Why were they doing that in 2015? And why were people protesting the dumping of chemicals in the sky? You can go watch this video. Says it on the bottom. Geoengineering, Jade Helm 15, 2015, Sentient Mass. They're spraying us day and night with barium and aluminum, which are metals. So if they're putting all those powdered metals in the sky with the sky spraying, and all those electromagnetic transmitters, 5G or HARP, etc., even ELF towers every few miles, these low frequency transmitters, those electromagnetic frequencies would be in the air, mixed in with those barium and aluminum heavy metals, and it would cause them to align with the signal, electromagnetic radiation. Hence, you would see the ripples like you see in the stuff they're dumped in the sky. If you watch my videos, go look for yourself. So this was going on in 2015. Just some pictures I went to show for this video. So it says here, GQ Geiger counter. So what is the normal counts per minute for radiation in the sky? So I have some meters and I pay attention, and I can tell you now that the radiation does go from 4, 5, 6, 7, 13 counts per minute up to 20 and 30 and 40. So the radiation in the air does change. Sometimes they have all these alarms all across the country. You can look them up on YouTube, radiation meters in the United States. And a lot of them are at dangerous levels. They have little indicators. And of course we have Fukushima with all that radiation coming off the coast of Japan. And apparently a lot of leaking nuclear power plants all over the United States. So it might behoove anybody to get a radiation meter for about $100 and pay attention. It can even hook up to your computer or go on the internet and see all these people who have hooked their meters up to a particular website, and you can see the radiation count all across the United States. And again, a lot of times they're at extremely dangerous evacuation levels, but they decided not to inform the people. So I buy the seaweed at the grocery store and eat a slice of that every day. Apparently the iodine in that helps get the radiation out of your body. Look into these things. We need to take charge of our health. If they're microwaving us with all these electromagnetic frequencies and dumping all these heavy metals and chemicals in the sky, Another picture I got back then. Stop geoengineering. I didn't make these pictures. I was watching videos. Look at the bottom. Geoengineering, Jade Helm 2015. Sentient mass. Go look up the video and watch it for yourself. A lot of people are concerned about this. What do these chemicals and these radiations do to our brains? I know those are rhetorical questions. They do bad things. We all know the answer, but why don't people do something? More people step up, say something. Get together. Why are people doing this? About all the things that are going on in our world right now. Preparations for a global world order. Propaganda and information to discredit Christianity. And having us all these satanic symbols and statues and monuments everywhere. During Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows. Olympic openings, bridge openings. Eurovision like the American Idol program. Big goat on the Hoover Dam, the goddess Shiva on the Empire State Building, the rainbow colors all over the Capitol buildings and bridges across the United States, when the Supreme Court said that states can't interfere with gay marriage. Meanwhile, they're dumping chemicals and people are getting t-shirts. Geoengineeringwatch.org. Don't believe me? Go to Dane Wigington's website. Robbie from Boston, all these people. The information is out there. But a lot of people prefer to be in denial. Even though I can take videos and show you. You can take videos and pictures yourself. But if you're like me, if you do look up and you say, that's not right. That should be the way God made it, not with those jets dumping those chemicals. And this jet will be spraying over here, but another one over here won't be spraying. So it is intentional, and they're non-continuous lines, and they don't spray everywhere every day. We spray your children, they have no future. Have some more Kool-Aid. So who do our politicians work for? Why would they be authorizing this? Would it be because of books like the Population Bomb Series 35 in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism? The Limits to Growth Series 27? Do they really want to depopulate the planet like the Georgia USA Guidestones seem to say they do? They want a 500 million worldwide population. So if there's 6 billion now, does that mean almost 6 billion people need to be exterminated? And how do you exterminate bugs, ants, roaches? You spray them. So how do you exterminate 5 or 6 billion people? I guess a lot of people don't want to know. Wake up. Apathy. So what do most people tell me when I point out the sky spraying to them? It looks normal. That looks normal to a lot of people. That looks normal to a lot of people. This looks normal to a lot of people. These are some pictures I had printed back in 2015. I'm sure I've used them in a couple different videos. A lot of people made posters. 25 April 2015, Global March Against Chemtrails and Geoengineering. And you can see the HAARP transmitters in this picture. You can see the jet planes. So they're geoengineering our world. Some people are awake. HAARP, H-A-A-R-P. Stop geoengineering. And of course I have a little hobby. You can see these pictures like right here. I take pictures of the sun. This one here. And so when people tell you there's some anomalies in the sky, it's a lot of times it's your camera. You can see the red orb behind the sun. The sun is this black spot. Apparently the camera, when it takes a picture of the sun, the bright spot comes out black on the film. Or if you use a filter, it comes out white here, and the different heat temperatures go back in different colors. So I've been paying attention and photographing the sun, and you can see the bright spot and the orb behind it, and you can see the black spot in this picture and the orb behind it. It depends on the filters you use. Just FYI, people need to pay attention to these things so we're not fooled. Orlando, Lake Eola, American flag. Chemtrailing the city, 5 million people. I was paying attention to this all the time, taking my own pictures, documenting what they're doing. Even taking pictures of the sun because there was all these threats. And apparently the sun is not what you see in the sky. The bright light you see in the sky that appears to be the sun is the radiation hitting our atmosphere. Just like if you take a flashlight and you aim it at the wall, 10 feet away, at where it hits the wall, it'll glow, but not from the flashlight across the room. You can't see it. It's invisible. The light rays are invisible until they hit the wall. So the sun glows like a big charcoal ember, and there are emissions from the sun, and when they hit our atmosphere, they glow like a flashlight hitting the wall. You can't see the rays in between. So don't be fooled when people say, oh, there's another sun in space, or some kind of Nibiru, Anunnaki, aliens coming, pole shift. A lot of disinformation out there. Apparently we got problems with waterways, the lakes drying up, but we have geoengineering going on. So what do you think? You think that geoengineering is doing what they say it's going to do? Controlling the weather, steering the jet stream, causing droughts and maybe fires like in California? And apparently this barium and aluminum is extremely flammable. So it did occur to me, I live in the mountains of North Carolina, that they keep spraying this stuff, and these heavy metals, flammable, are falling to earth, which makes the forest and everything else, and if they cause a slight drought and somebody sets a fire, it's going to go up like a flaming inferno. The stage is set. They can do this wherever they want to. True or false, all of this? OGM, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, respiratory diseases, weather warfare, hydrogeological disasters, stop chemtrails, look at the sky and save your children. You know, I hate to say this, but I have to say it, and I have to ask this. People watching this video, people who talk to their friends, this is something worth fighting for. Make people wake up. Don't they care about their children? Don't they care about the children of humanity? Have we as a people on this planet become so far lost, gone, zombie-like, mind-controlled, whatever you want to call it, apathy, ignorant, stupid, that we don't care about our own children, our brothers and sisters and friends' children, and the children of those children and of humanity? That nobody wants to get outraged by this? We are breathing these nanoparticles, matters into our lungs. So are some of these computerized silicon programmable particles that can do predicted things inside of our bodies? And apparently, if you go get a blood test, the heavy metals, you have a high metal content in your body more than normal. And when you get things like too much iron or aluminum, I remember drinking out of aluminum cans and having too much aluminum in your system causes Alzheimer's, however you say it. Makes you wonder, are we all going to forget everything pretty soon? And with all these heavy metals in our body and all the electromagnetic transmissions, can they cause certain effects and even agitate these particles, heat them up like sticking your head in a microwave oven, kill us? Kill selected people, depopulate the planet? A mechanical analog to biomicron-sized mechanical dust, which is distributed as an aerosol inhaled into the lungs. This is microdust weaponry. Dust mechanically bores into lung tissue, and it executes various pathological missions. So the heavy metals, the aluminum, the barium, is being dumped in the sky. They are being breathed into your body, my body, the baby's body, the dog's body, the bugs, the animals, the birds, the bees, everything, fish. And then you have these microwave transmissions, all these transmission towers going up everywhere, including the HAARP transmitters. So do they know certain frequencies and energy levels that can cause them to be a weapon? A wholly new class of weaponry which is legal, apparently. They control the government and the laws. So, I made this video. I've showed the sky spraying on November 16th. Take a look at November 17th and see the difference. November 17th, Saturday, 2018. Considering the amount of spraying yesterday, it's actually absolutely amazing that they're not spraying anything anywhere at 9:30 this morning here in the mountains of North Carolina. This is Saturday, a few days before Thanksgiving, so please, let's not try to declare that there's no planes flying on Saturday compared to all the spraying going on yesterday, Friday. So when they are dumping stuff into the sky intentionally, they are. And when they're not, they're not. At least right here, right now. Unbelievable. But this is actually normal. Normal is unbelievable. But they say in the last days, down will be up will be down, good will be bad, and bad will be good. So when you have a clear day, when they're not dumping chemicals in the sky, that apparently is odd. Because usually they are dumping stuff in the sky. Tons of stuff sometimes. It's all a plan. When will the people wake up? Hopefully they do wake up. Rick Miracle reporting. November 17th, Saturday, 2018. About 10 minutes after 11 this morning. And as you can plainly see, you can't see any huge dumpings of chemicals in the sky. What's with that? So they don't spray every day, everywhere. And when they are spraying, they can be spraying a lot, or they can be spraying light. There can be long lines that seem like they're continuous. There can be short squirts. The anatomy of dumping stuff into the sky. It's quite interesting, the different things they do. And I'm just a little concerned as well as I should be and everybody else should be. What else could they dump in there? And these aluminum and bariums, which are apparently are highly flammable, did they use these materials in California? So I want to talk about something else for a moment. Because while I was on my vacation going to Florida, I still checked my email on the computer, and I saw some of the top headlines. And the information was alarming, concerning, and certainly got my attention. So I went and copied this stuff while I was on vacation and prepared to make a video when I got back. And one of those topics, we've all been paying attention to the news, I'm sure. If you're anybody and you watch the news at all, you're aware of this. But the relentless California wildfires. Apparently, President Donald Trump went out there to meet with the California governor. So apparently they're blaming all of this on global warming, i.e. the human use of automobiles, etc., the industrial factories. Apparently they're claiming it increases the CO2 into the air, carbon dioxide. Apparently, which trees use as nutrients to grow. So if we were dumping this stuff into the sky, the vegetation would certainly increase. And then, of course, the trees emit oxygen, which is what we use. A symbiotic relationship there, you think. So something's not right with this information they're telling us. But anyways, these fires and this press release was quite interesting and alarming, and the story itself tells a story, and the pictures tell another story. So I think we, the people, need to be skeptical about this, realizing that we are under attack. Somebody wants a global world order, globalism, to the nth degree. It's a serious matter. They brought us World War I, World War II, 9/11, and so much more to get to this point. And all this anti-Christian rhetoric and propaganda, also 9/11 and all the demonization of the Islamic peoples from the Prophet Muhammad. And remember this when they demonized the Middle East. In those countries, you know, a good portion of the world, 25% of the world, 1 billion people, more, includes Pakistan, Turkey, etc., and other countries in the Orient. But all those people are not Islamic. Maybe a third, maybe half of them are. But a good portion of them, maybe half or whatever, are Christian. 20%, 15% probably atheist. 0.5% probably Jewish. Another 25% or something Buddhist. A lot of Hinduism in India, 1 billion plus people. China, 1 billion plus people. So when they are destroying all these countries in the Middle East, don't be fooled into thinking they're attacking Islamists, that they're demonizing. Those people can be Christians, atheists, and any other religion, Hindu, Buddhist. Again, we're all being deceived, in my opinion. So I saw this press release while I was on my trip. Relentless California wildfires leave 79 dead, nearly 1,300 others still missing. So somebody's trying to say, and I have the information to back this up, that the human use of carbon dioxide, your fireplace, your wood-burning stove, your oil-burning stove, your automobile, the factories, everything we do is putting carbon dioxide into the air so they would have us believe. And it's causing the world to get hotter. And hence, that's causing more extreme weather to get more colder, freezing, record temperatures freezing, record temperatures hot. And I'm thinking to myself, scratching my head, wait a minute. they're dumping all these chemicals in the sky. They have all these transmitters. There's all kinds of accusations of controlling the jet stream, but they don't talk about any of that. And it's these things that they're dumping in the sky that they've measured the water and the earth for are highly flammable. And there are some anomalies with those fires in California going way out of control, even having a lot of people suspect it is directed energy weapons. And when you look at the pictures I'm going to show you, using your God-given brain and some rational thinking, you probably have to agree it doesn't look right from just a natural forest fire burning all of North California and South California, portions of Canada, countries overseas. And remember, they want a global world order, so they have to bring about chaos and destruction to get the people to go along with this communist type reality. Austerity, everybody using less of everything, and they want to reduce the population by 5 or 6 billion. They want a global world order, and it's fulfilling a biblical prophecy. There's just too much evidence to show that this is all not just a coincidence. It's a plan. It appears we're under attack. So I highlighted the material here. And they're coming at us from numerous directions. The number of people who remain missing in the wake of a pair of ferocious wildfires that have been blazing across both ends of California for more than a week spiked to nearly 1,300 late Saturday. The two monstrous blazes, which both ignited last week, have claimed a total of 79 lives, while laying waste to a total area of 400 square miles, according to the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. Officials said that 63 of the remains have been positively identified so far. And I was thinking, with all these people owning all these homes and businesses, owning land and all of that, and the vegetation and the trees and the forest, these people vying for a global world order have been kind of obsessed with obtaining control of all of the natural resources over the planet. And then a lot of people are aware that California was a gold rush state, and it is mountainous and has a lot of natural resources. So if somebody was causing these disasters to burn all those people out, they would have easier access to all these natural resources. Just my brain thinking. If they wanted to continue with the new technologies today and the satellite systems, which apparently can x-ray the ground, and they wanted to get that gold, but all those towns and all those people and all those farmers and all those orchards, vineyards, would be in the way of their obtaining all these natural resources and control of those territories. What kind of evil forces control this planet? Why would these banksters and elitists bring us World War I, World War II, and apparently lots of threats out there about World War III, nuclear war, economic destruction, martial law, FEMA camps, vaccines, microchipping we the people, AI, 5G, and so much more. All these satanic events, symbols. So I just think outside the box and say, wait a minute. They're burning everything, scorching the earth, which would make those natural resources readily available. Follow the money, they say. A vast majority of the deaths, 76 total, were due to the Camp Fire in Northern California's Butte County, making it the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in the state's history. So they're admitting in this press release it is the most destructive wildfire in the state's history. Meanwhile, the other end of the state, they're having another event that's similar. So that's kind of weird that they would have two of these. And of course, Canada and countries all overseas. All these coincidences and coincidences and coincidences. Meanwhile, you look up and you can see they're dumping these chemicals from the sky, and they're installing these 5G antenna, which I noticed, by the way, on my trip to Florida, through South Carolina, Georgia, west coast of Florida, east coast of Florida, and back up. Tons of these microwave transmitter towers right beside the highway. So whenever they want, anybody they want will get a heavy dose of being microwaved. And if you have all these heavy metals in your body, so it seems like they're planning for something using my deductive reasoning. The number of people missing or unaccounted for in Butte County grew by 1,011 by Friday, 1,276 by late Saturday, though those figures may continue to fluctuate as authorities track down the names on the list. According to Butte County Sheriff Corey Horney, all right, President Donald Trump goes down there, meets with the governor. Says here, the president stopped first in Paradise. The name of this town is a bit suspect, that they would have it burnt completely to the ground, Paradise. You think there's any psychological warfare going on? Where he called the damage total devastation. We've never seen anything like this in California, Trump said. The president later visited Malibu to tour devastation from the Woolsey fire. Meanwhile, the smoke from the flames has descended across the Golden State and choked the air in major cities, including San Francisco. Officials have advised residents in the affected areas to remain indoors and wear a protective mask outside. Wow. A planned deception. A staging of the new age. Messiah, Constance Kuby. Tex Mars, the new millennium, cashless society, economic collapse, biblical prophecies, mark of the beast. Michael Hoffman, secret societies and psychological warfare. So I've got 600 book reviews almost online and skyspraying videos, etc., messages from Rick Miracle. And it all seems to connect the dots that we are under attack. That's why I made so many videos on so many different topics. The whole spectrum of everything is what I've had to look at for me to try to figure this out. Because I didn't know any more than anybody else. What did psychic research have to do with the Kabbalah? What was the Kabbalah? What does that have to do with Zionism? Why did the communists testify in Congress in the 1920s they were going to infiltrate and destroy Christianity? Who are the communists? Who are the Bolshevik Jewish people? But I've answered a lot of these questions in my many videos. Took me a while and a lot of work. Meanwhile, the smoke from the flames has descended across the Golden State. So notice the trees are standing, and notice they have pictures here that it's wiped out everything. That's just not normal. You're talking right next to the ocean, Paradise, Malibu. You can go look up this press release. It's just not normal. I got some more pictures here. It's just not, something's not right. And it's never happened before. Of course, they've never had all these technological weapons before. They've never come so close to this global world order. President Donald Trump announcing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. They brought us World War I, World War II, and 9/11 to get Israel to have the Palestinians' land, killing off all the Palestinian people for years. After 9/11, 10 days? Prime Minister Sharon screamed in his Congress when they were discussing these issues, "Don't keep killing the Palestinian people, the United States will intervene." 10 days after 9/11. And he screamed out, "Don't worry about America. We control America, and the Americans know it." But I suppose the only people who do not know it are the citizens out there. We the people. When we see these pictures and these weather anomalies and all this, and the dumping of chemicals and the microwave transmitters and HARP transmitters, and all this acknowledgement about a global world currency and a global world order and a global world religion, and fitting biblical prophecy, destroying Christianity. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to put these pieces of the puzzle together. So anyways, reading on here. The campfire ignited, so a campfire burned this entire community down. Do you believe that? I mean, you'd think there was a fire, people would be notified, they would get fire trucks out there, they would even create a fire, a backfire, to burn that way to stop it. But it doesn't look like that's what they want to do. And it is fulfilling part of the plan for a global world order. They need to economically take down California, and there are lots of natural resources, and the population needs to go. The fire has virtually decimated the entire town, enveloping the town of Paradise. So you see all those houses, and a lot of them were probably not wood, and it wasn't a lot of vegetation. It was a residential area, a whole town. 27,000 people in the Sierra Nevada foothills. I suspect it's part of this psychological warfare and more of these satanic rituals of human sacrifice, etc. There's something much bigger going on, and I do have a couple books to make videos on right away, and the information is going to coincide what I'm talking about now. These people are just insane who want this global world order. And their Kabbalistic, Luciferic, satanic religion is crazy. And it's been causing problems for a couple thousand years. Biblical, fallen angels, God bringing the world, the wide flood, Noah's Ark, indigenous tribes all over the world talk about in their history a great flood, and some entities helping them go into caves or underground to survive the flood, like Noah's Ark. So who intervened? I suppose we all should start praying quickly today to get the God to intervene, because if we don't, it's going to be a bad day. Could be tomorrow, could be later today, could be next week. But apparently it's coming like a freight train. The campfire had burned more than 149,000 acres. Here's another picture here. So that looks like the devastation took out everything from a little campfire. Meanwhile, they're dumping all those chemicals into the sky. Apparently highly flammable materials. What would your natural conclusion be? It is by far the most deadly single fire in California history. And it's going to get worse, unfortunately, Porter said of the campfire. The entire community of Paradise is a toxic wasteland now. So if they do want the land and the resources, maybe there's even oil under there, who knows, and they've designated a toxic wasteland and nobody can rebuild, well, they will have completed their plan. Schuster said, holding back tears. In addition to that, and this is the hardest part for me to even talk about, the number of fatalities is among things that we don't know at this moment, and that's something that has to be determined before people can move back in. You know, if there were one thing, the fires or this or that, or just the hurricane in Florida or Galveston, but all these weird things that are happening everywhere with all of these weaponized systems and cell phone towers and stuff dumped in the sky and all kinds of people acknowledging it and all that, and the pursuit of a global world order and all the anti-Christian rhetoric and propaganda, You put the whole thing together and you have to scratch your head and say, something's not right here. It seems like we're under attack. I suspect it's going to get worse, and it says that in this article. So here's another picture. Cars melted, stuff like that. They said aluminum wheels on cars have been melting, and this has been going on for all year. This is one of the worst disasters I've ever seen in my career. Hands down, Long told reporters at the scene Wednesday. I don't think it was just a natural fire. I mean, you have fire departments, you have planes. This is just a little crazy. Look like steel buildings. So there's plenty of information on YouTube videos and websites, alternate news. People coming forward and saying there are strange things going on. The wind-driven flames jumped the 101 freeway before sweeping through the celebrity enclaves in Malibu and Calabasas. Look at this devastation. Unbelievable. And again, if it happened once, maybe I could buy it. Twice, I'd say, what's going on? But all year long, and I know in Florida they were having all these fires, even here in the mountains of North Carolina last year. They had huge fires going along, but all the time I've been monitoring and videoing the dumping of chemicals in the sky. You can see the smoke and everything with satellites in space or something. So with that said, I think I'll play a couple more videos from November 16, 17. I think this is November 18th. Take a look. November 18th, Sunday. Walked outside about 9:10 this morning and noticed live in front of me a couple jets streaking by dumping chemicals. Live while I watched them do that. These jets are still in sight. Dumping chemicals. Looks like they've been busy. Looks like here comes another one. I can see him dumping as I watch. And you can see evidence of the straight lines up there everywhere you look in the sky. Now that's a lot of stuff dumped. There does appear to be some humidity, weather clouds up there, a front coming in. But they are dumping a significant amount of material into the sky right now. As you can plainly see. And these long straight lines. All of this coverage seems to be dumped chemicals, believe it or not. And the jets are streaking by one after another right now as I watch. Like I keep saying, you know, whatever the recipe is that they're dumping, they could change it any day. When could it become an attack on humanity? Maybe it's a subtle attack right now, yesterday, but could it get more nefarious quickly? On this crispy 32 degrees in the mountains of North Carolina morning. So I rather doubt they're dumping all this stuff to combat global warming. Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. Video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. November 18th, about 10:21 on this Sunday. Unbelievable activity in the sky today. These jets are just flying side by side, heavily dumping something. And as you can see, they're just coming one behind the other. You would think if we were under a nuclear attack, you'd see one there, you'd see one there, you'd see one there. You'd see everything we're seeing. And yesterday, there was hardly any spraying the first half of the day. But today, it's clearly off the chart. Yet again. Evidence of the straight lines of dumping. Physically watching the planes right now. Lining up next to each other. And evidence of all this other stuff being dumped from planes. None of it looks like clouds. Clearly, none of it is clouds. And these other planes are just coming one after another. One is right there, one is right there, one is right there. Lines after lines, as you can see over the treetop here. So what in the world is going on? Another one, they're just following each other, one after the other. Not normal air traffic. And also, if you were in a plane, or planes, in this case there's many of them, you would be above any kind of weather. They don't fly these things in the midst of this stuff, but these are. Some of them are leaving long streaks, as you can see, and some of them have shorter tails. Could be different concoctions being dumped. What in the world is happening? On this Sunday, 2018, 10/21, here in the mountains of North Carolina. We're being sprayed like we're bugs. Some real huge jets with wide disbursements of whatever they're dumping. One after another. Rick Miracle reporting. November 18th, about 2 o'clock in Sunday afternoon. Clear evidence of dumped stuff into the sky. You can see how it's blowing in the breeze, not a cloud obviously. This one was probably an older spray. The powder chemicals are blowing in the breeze, and it turns into this splotch. So apparently they're pretty busy on this Sunday. Over here towards the north, it's pretty much a blanket over that area. I'm in a valley, very rural, but over towards the city, as you can see, it's probably completely covered with chemicals. But out here, it's a little less, more sporadic. But it is visible. Obvious, none of what I can see is clouds. So there you have it. We're being sprayed like we're bugs. And we, the people, need to be asking why. What the heck is going on? That's off towards the west, nothing that way. Southwest. North, lots of chemicals. And east, plenty of evidence. So there you have it, Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina on this Sunday, 2018. A few days before Thanksgiving. November 18th. It's after 1 o'clock on this Sunday. I'm looking off towards the north from the mountains in North Carolina. And you can see these sprayed lines all helter-skelter, left, right, vertical. What the heck? Here's off towards the south, southeast, east. So no doubt about it, you can look overhead, they're not spraying right overhead, but definitely towards the northeast. Like I said, helter-skelter. Like a child with a crayon on a wall, left and right, up and down, crossways, every way. What are they doing and why? Don't you want to know? Are we gonna die? It can't be something benevolent. They're not doing it for our benefit. That leaves malevolent and sinister as the other choices. No narration required. Seeing is believing. What are they doing in your neighborhood? Rick Miracle reporting. November 18th, at 1:15. The dumping of chemicals continues. There's a big X right there. You don't fly planes in these kinds of helter-skelter directions, but you dump chemicals this way to paint the sky pasty white. None of what I see seems to be clouds. Believe it or not. But then again, the brainwashed masses look up and don't think a thing. Because apparently they've been zombified, mystified, hypnotized while this is going on. What are they doing in your neighborhood? Rick Miracle reporting. November 18th, about 1:30. Man alive, these jets today have been flying behind one another non-stop. There's another one. Here's the squirt lines they left. One heck of a painted sky. It's intentional. So if it is intentional, then why? And why does it look like rainbow colors in this stuff? And electromagnetic radiation. Ripples. 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 And more ripples. If the camera can pick it up. Think about it. Electromagnetic radiation, chemicals, maybe bio. So there I was on my vacation trip to Florida, going through South Carolina, Georgia, monitoring the dumping of chemicals in the sky, geoengineering, weather warfare, weather control, whatever. And noticing all the cell phone towers going up beside the road for the past year. And on my trip, they were everywhere. But in the news, while I was on my trip, there was a very interesting press release and other article in the news when I was watching the TV nightly news at my relative's house. And I had to go look into it. And a couple things happened when I looked into it. A couple surprises. But the topic was, believe it or not, 13 federal agencies release climate change report. So I'm thinking to my brain here, 13 federal agencies are releasing a climate change report blaming we humans. And who are these federal agencies? Who do they work for? The federal government? Who's putting up the cell phone towers? and authorizing the dumping of stuff into the sky? The federal government? Who? The secret societies, Illuminati, the satanic Kabbalists, the Zionists, the high-level Freemasons, etc., Bohemian Grove? Who's controlling everything? The banking system? And continuing to attack the countries in the Middle East with even maps for a greater Israel? So who's behind all this? Who would release all these climate change reports, and what are they saying? Well, listen up. You talk about hip deep in this kind of deception. Neck deep. We're all going to drown, it seems like. You can go look this up. Unbelievable. Let me read some of this. Learn about climate change. Stream Sinking Cities on PBS, Public Broadcast Station. So, hurricanes, related rising waters, shop online, donate online, pbs.org. The next thing I highlighted was 13 federal agencies release climate change report. Federal report says climate change will wallop U.S. economy. Federal climate change report paints grim picture for the Midwest. So I suspect people are believing this stuff. They don't mention anything here about dumping chemicals in the sky or all those microwave transmitters coming online. Their ability to control the jet stream. Woodrow Wilson, president, talked about it. So many people talked about it. Dane Wigington talks about it. There are patented technologies that show that they have it, they're doing it, and all these government corporations are involved. Governments and corporations. In league with apparently these globalists. Who's behind all of this? Can you believe the controlled media by these people? And why would they bring this information out a day or so before Thanksgiving? Trump administration criticized over timing of climate change report. Environmentalists, journalists, and lawmakers are among those criticizing the Trump administration for releasing a dire federal climate change report the day after. Secret societies and psychological warfare. I've been reading this book. I've made many videos on these topics. It is as real as the sun is going to come up tomorrow. And Christmas is right around the corner, unless they, of course, ban it with the Noahide laws. No more worshiping a Messiah, Savior that was a false one. That would be heresy, punishable by beheading. I wish I was kidding. Anyways, reading on. New federal climate assessment for U.S. released. 2 days ago, reports highlight impacts, risk, and adaptations to climate change. The NOAA is one of the 13 federal agencies that contributed significantly to this report. Climate change puts U.S. economy and lives at risk. Remember, we have all these fires going on and all kinds of other things going on. Stock market collapsing and threats like that. Ambassadors being assassinated. All kinds of accusations attacking Trump. And so much more. They really are messing with us. And that's in the Protocols of Zion, Article 13. Please go look that up, free online PDF. Article 13, it's only about one page. It discusses all these things. Local organization pushes to end global warming as newly released. So they're getting all these organizations together to fight and promote global warming and the fact that we all have to have some kind of communist austerity. We all have to contribute and use less oil, gas, etc., electricity. So that's some kind of global world order, austerity, reducing maybe the United States to a third world nation. Meanwhile, of course, they've got thousands and thousands of people massing at the border from Nicaragua. And why did all those countries from Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and so many others, Mexico, permit thousands and thousands of people to march into their countries up the coast? Apparently buses and money and supplies were provided. So it's a planned event. You can't leave that out of this equation. All this distraction, all this insanity. And then you read these kinds of report. The U.S. Climate Report warns of damaged environmental and shrinking. Without major action to rein in global warming, the American economy, percent of GDP by 2100, so that's 80 years from now. I guess all of us alive today, if you're any age at all, will probably be dead by then. I feel sorry for the next generation that is going to believe all this contrived false flag propaganda. According to a report from 13 federal agencies, and they use the number 13, isn't that weird? 13 stripes on the emblem on the back of the dollar bill, 13 stars in the symbol above it, 13 feathers, 13 arrows, 13 initial colonies, 13 witches to a coven, 13, 13, 13. So I suspect that they used that number in this report as part of more of this psychological warfare. Psychological. And it's satanic. And these are Kabbalistic witchcraft rituals that they're doing. Magic. Evil. And I've been learning about this stuff, reading a couple other books. Apparently, they're trying to bring these beings from the underworld back up here to control the planet. I kid you not. I'll be going over that book right away. Climate Science Special Report. This report is an authoritative assessment of the sciences of climate change with a focus on the unlimited, or focus on the United Chapter 13, ocean acidification and other ocean changes. So this all came out 2 days before Thanksgiving. Big hoopla in the news. I was on vacation, paying attention to what they're dumping in the sky and other things. A little more here that I highlighted. You can go put in these keywords and look this up for yourself. I highly encourage people to do it. 13 U.S. agencies involved in climate change report. Again, why the number 13? Why the Twin Towers on 911? You think the Arabs over there were into witchcraft? And when they blamed all those countries, were they all into Islam? Were a good portion of those people Christians and atheists and Buddhists and Hindu? A lot of deception going on. The VOA News. 2 days ago, the federal government released on Friday a report that stated the impact of the climate change, from wildfires to increasingly destructive. So they're saying the same thing with the Hurricane Florence and Michael or whatever recently, and the fires and all this other stuff is related to you and me driving our car or the Industrial Revolution 100 years ago, and your oil furnace or smoking cigarettes. Just so many people being alive need to use all those resources and bring about all that pollution. So apparently, according to the Georgia USA Guidestones, which apparently were put there by the Rosicrucians, another one of these secret societies in cahoots with the Freemasons, Illuminati, Kabbalists, Zionists, Satanists. You can't make this stuff up. Climate change will shrink U.S. economy and kill thousands. Anyways, if you do go look up those keywords, 13 federal agencies release climate change report, you will find 9,850,000 results. Almost 9,850,000. Almost 10 million on a report that was just released This is 1129. Almost 10 million. So it does show you that the people who control the internet and what pops up in search results, they can control what everybody sees. So they hit everybody with this information. 10 million results on my search results 2 days after the release of this report during the Thanksgiving holiday. And knowing all these other things that are going on. So let me play another video that I took documenting the dumping of chemicals during the month of November 2018. November 19th, about 8:10 in the morning. So foggy here in the mountains of North Carolina, the news said 0 visibility. You can hear the cars. But if I look up here in the sky, oh my, long straight lines of dumped chemicals. 3 stacked on a row right here. I've been paying attention to this dumping of chemicals in our sky, and let me tell you, at nighttime, they spray like there's no tomorrow. It's hard to take a picture of it, but you can see it. And it seems like some ripples, electromagnetic radiation in the ripples here, if you can see it. Unbelievable. 0 visibility, so much fog. But you can see the spray line. There's no doubt it's a spray line. It's a long, fat line. In 0 visibility fog, there's 3 lines stacked up on top of each other, and apparently some ripples over here, electromagnetic energy. Unbelievable. Geoengineering, weather warfare, environmental destruction. What do you call it? November 19th. About 11:15 on this Monday morning. Oddness in the sky again. Dumped chemicals. Look at that little triangle. Spray line to the left, to the right, and one coming up from the bottom. Looks like a lot of this stuff dumped in the sky is not clouds. There's a plane streaking off there that was just spraying. He just flew by here and left that splotch. All these others, straight lines and splotches, spray lines that have spread apart. Splotches. Painting the sky with chemicals, maybe biologicals. We don't know because they don't tell us. Rick Miracle reporting from the mountains of North Carolina. All right, I have another document on those 10 million results on that 13 federal agencies releasing reports. I clicked a couple of them and printed out the documents and read them. I don't like to read these things sentence by sentence because if you do, and you're a little bit aware, you can pick up on the deception. Climate change will harm the entire nation if the U.S. doesn't act now, federal report warns. And I got a picture here of the fires in the massive plume from the campfire as seen from Chico, California. A new federal government report warns to expect more of these types of catastrophes. Well, if they're controlling the weather and they have all these technologies, I suppose they could dish this out to us as much as they want to, and unless people wake up, we'll be none the wiser. We will get this microchipping of everybody in cashless society. Someday in the future, they're going to look back and say, why didn't people see what was coming? Wasn't there anybody out there making a video talking about this? Were they all that blind? Well, there are lots of people making videos exposing this. Why the public doesn't react? I guess the mind control, the TV mesmerizations, the economic distraction, everybody trying to pay their bills. Of course, football season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Johnny's little birthday party, promotion at the job, getting some drugs and some booze, going on a trip. Who cares? Party till it happens. Is that what people think? All right, so I was thinking, United Nations, I made some notes on the side here while I was reading this. Agenda 21, global attack. It says here, swift action to slash greenhouse gases, community, austerity, globalism. So let me read from Tony, the reporter on this here. Climate change is taking an increasing toll on the nation's environment, health and economy, and damage will intensify over the century without swift action to slash greenhouse gas emissions, according to a major scientific report released Friday by federal agencies. Greenhouse gases. Don't those gases feed the trees and vegetation and grass and all of that? Wouldn't that be a good thing if things got a little warmer? Wouldn't all of Canada and Russia and all those other northern territories be freed up in southern territories, Antarctica? It would double the landmass that we could all use for the resources and everything else. With the technologies we have today, building residences and heating them and supplying electricity, it would all be a piece of cake, really. If that was the intent, to do things for the benefit of humanity. But it is not the attempt. There's an anti-humanity plan going on. Population reduction, anti-Christian, globalism, and Israel and Zionism is all part of it. World War I, World War II, 9/11, revolutions, assassinations, economic destruction, pain and suffering, a lot of death. And apparently, according to these reports, it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse unless people wake up. The congressionally mandated report by 13 federal agencies, the first of its kind under the Trump administration, found that climate change is already being felt in communities across the United States. It projects widespread and growing devastation as increasing temperatures, rising sea levels, worsening wildfires, more intense storms, and other cascading effects harm our ecosystem, infrastructure, and society. And I made a note here. I couldn't help but ask myself, what about sky spraying? HAARP transmitters, 5G, weather warfare and control, all the things that are being admitted these days. They don't mention any of that in these reports. Globalism, all this attacks on presidents on all these countries all over the world. Economic destruction in Argentina, Italy, Greece, Turkey, all these countries, all this control, all these control mechanisms put in place the last couple hundred years. I don't want to talk about that. The cross is offensive to Jewish people. Go look that up on your computer. And what is this new Noahide laws that were passed in secret? And what is the Jewish religion? And in the Encyclopedia Judaica, it says, historically, the part of the Jewish people's history is the Kabbalah. And I've identified the Kabbalah with the Zohar, which is also into the Babylonian mystery religion, and Satanism, demonism, fallen angels, and the underworld, communication with these invisible beings, and all kinds of things they can do. Even King Solomon's temple, and King Solomon, he gained his power by a magic ring with 6 points on it, 6-pointed star, that he could call demons into this reality. Did you know that? Can you go look it up? Does it have anything to do with this and globalism? The assessment paints a dire picture of the worsening effects of global warming as nearly every corner of the country grows more at risk from extreme heat, more devastating storms, droughts, wildfires, waning snowpack, and other threats to critical infrastructure, air quality, water supplies, and vulnerable communities. Do you really believe all of this? Do you think it's just incidental and it's because people are driving cars? Coal furnaces. By century's end, 80 years from now, the report projects thousands of additional deaths annually from worsening heat waves and air pollution, as well as declining crop yields and the loss of key coral reef and sea ice ecosystems. Some $1 trillion in coastal real estate is threatened by rising sea levels, storm surges, high tide flooding, exacerbated by climate change, according to the report. The report also warns of economic consequences of inaction. Without substantial global emissions reductions and local adaptation measures, the report says, climate change is expected to cause growing losses to American infrastructure and property and impede the rate of economic growth over this country. And I'm scratching my head thinking again, if we hadn't been giving these Illuminati Zionist countries, Israel and all of that, 2 to 10, 20 billion every year since 1946? Do the math. I was watching the news the other day, and apparently there's a lot of discussion about the fence being put up on the United States and Mexican border. And apparently President Donald Trump requested $25 billion for this fence. And I'm scratching my head again thinking, man alive, you're talking 2,000 or 3,000 people trying to march up here. And then, of course, the military's down there with barbed wire and machine guns. So anyways, the senator said that President Donald Trump would likely get this year $5 billion. So you got 20 more billion to get. They're not going to give it to him all at once. And I'm just wondering what they're going to do with the $5 billion. And if they didn't build a fence and they sent the $5 billion down to Nicaragua, those 2,000 people probably never would have left. It's all staged. Buses were provided. It has everything to do with the fires and the climate control, climate warfare, and the social, psychological warfare. It's all connected, in my opinion, and I have more documentation here. I think in the next couple days, if you watch my new videos, you will see it too. If emissions continue to climb, economic losses will be in the hundreds of billions annually in some sectors by the end of the century. That's another weird thing that they're doing, bringing all these people into the United States. Because, if you don't know this, probably 50% of the United States population is over 60 years old. Think about it. After World War II, the economy was really thriving, and married couples had anywhere from 6 to 8 or 10 or even 12, 14 kids. The population doubled and even tripled in 20 years. They call it the population bomb. Anyways, during the hippie age, an intentional thing was done to bring us drugs and the hippies and festivals, and to change the thinking, social structure of family values and the free love and all that. And they went from family values to people barely getting married and maybe having one or two children. So they're not even sustaining the population of the people that are dying. And right now, a half of the population is over 60, probably many of them closing on 70 and 80. So probably within the next 10 years, we could lose 50, 75, 80 million people. I suspect that would seriously decrease the output of carbon dioxide emissions, wouldn't it? Then why would they bring all these new people to replace all these people into the United States that would continue to take up those spaces and homes and automobiles and have all those carbon emissions? Obviously, there's something bigger going on, and it's called cultural diversity, part of the communist, Zionist, Illuminati, satanic religion, mystery Babylon religion, fulfilling biblical prophecy plan. So what we think is going on is not what's really going on, especially if you know about all the retirement age from people born in 1946, 56, and 66. And all those people add 50 years to their 60 years to their birth times. You would also know that a huge part of the population is going to decrease and is decreasing hugely every day right now. So back then it went tripled increase, and 60 years later all those people are seriously elderly, and it's going to drop back down when they all die. But in the meantime, the government officials have been aware of this, and they have been feeding immigrants into our society to replace all these people. But they've been doing it in a controlled way to dilute the family values and the way that America was and Christianity, and feeding us the New Age satanic culture that we're all seeing. Just sidebar thoughts that they don't really want you to think about. The assessment leaves no doubt that humans are to blame for the climate change, and the extent of the harm we will experience depends on decisions we make today. So does anybody really believe, if you've been paying attention to our reality and politics, that these politicians are listening to what we the people want? Or is mind control and social conditioning going on? Secret societies and psychological warfare. Michael Hoffman, go get the book. And I've been going over many other books confirming these discussions. You know, when they talk about all these pollutants and everything, and they want to blame we people, the population, I made a note to myself here. Who actually controls everything? You? Me? Or them? We all know the answer. It isn't us. And by the way, when in 1946, when they did finally take control of the Palestinians' land after World War II, and with the Aliyah program of getting the Jews all over the world to return to that area to bring about the ancient kingdom of Judea, that apparently God dispersed all those people for 2,000 years of diaspora. So these evil forces are reversing that. But anyways, they intentionally closed down lots of factories in the United States and Europe, and sent all that manufacturing facilities to third world countries using very cheap labor, and causing a lot of economic destruction in the United States. That was all intentional. It had huge corporations to liquidate all those Jewish people's assets. After they brought them here after World War I and World War II, where they took over almost everything, amassed a huge amount of wealth, But after World War II, when they really were pushing with the Zionist Aliyah program called the Return, they had huge corporations to liquidate all their assets. And closer to home and in the communist nations, build all those factories and businesses, which now they're causing disturbances in the economy with Donald Trump and tariffs. So they're feeding all these ingredients to possibly bring us a World War III. If they cause a lot of devastation in India and China, that would certainly motivate those billions of people to bring about World War III. So all this stuff is to destroy and weaken America. Part of biblical prophecy again. Go look into it. Don't believe me. Go watch my videos and other people's videos. Go read the Bible yourself. Revelation. Of course, they don't want people to be religious anymore and believe in Jesus anymore. And the 7-candlestick menorah is showing up everywhere during the Christian Christmas holiday, but that's not Christian or Christmas. It's something else, and people ought to be alarmed about who's controlling our planet and bringing us this kind of propaganda. And the weaponized technologies that are actually causing the extreme fires and hurricanes and droughts and everything. Earth's climate is now changing faster than any point in history of modern civilization, primarily as a result of human activities. So it says here. The report says, but the severity of future impacts will depend largely on actions taken to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to the changes that will occur. It's what it says here. You please go look up this document. First line. So it's all because of you and me. Too many of us, they don't want us while all these other things are going on. So if we're causing it, what did scientists discover years ago? They took ice core samples. Alaska, Iceland, Himalayas, all over the world, Antarctica. And you see the dark lines in the ice core samples? That would have been a lot of vegetation, a really nice warm year. See all the gray lines? Then it was a little cooler. Then the white lines, there wasn't a lot of vegetation. It's like the trees, when you cut it open, you can tell how old the tree is. So they took all these ice core samples and they could tell what the weather was during the history of planet Earth. So I say, when I read these press releases, and I know a little bit more than the average bear because I've been doing this research since 2005, things don't add up. So apparently in history, everybody is aware that we've had global warming and cooling periods. This is not human caused 1,000, 2,000 years back. Think about it. You can go look this up. Ice core samples on Yahoo image site. You'll see the pictures and the website associated with the pictures. And it mentions here, 1,500 years ago was a nomadic time, the era of the Great Migration. So they had a cooling period. So a lot of people left the cooling area and went towards the warmer climate 1,500 years ago, and it lasted about 300 years. It's like it's 17 to 1300. And then we had very warm weather, 1100 BC, where my finger is. The big hump there in the middle. That would have been a global warming period. And if you look at where we are today on the far edge of this picture, over here, you can see that we're not as hot as this was. A little hotter than this maybe. Nowhere near as hot as this was. So what do you suppose? Humans caused that? So that was the Hebrew exodus from Egypt during that warming period. And apparently not too long ago, we had a very cold period from, so that was 4,000, 3,000 years back. So you can see here, closer to today, we're coming out of a very cold period. This back here was the Jewish exodus from Egypt captivity 3,000 years ago. This would be Christ's birth here. Warming period, cooling period, warming period, cooling period. And apparently we're here now. So nothing really unusual about what's going on planet Earth. According to global temperatures, 2500 BC to 2040. So about almost 4,500 years of records. And there's plenty of pictures on Yahoo image site to show you the graph of the temperature changes over the past few thousand years. So if they have all these technological weapons and they're intentionally bringing about changes, these pictures are at Yahoo image site. Look up ice core samples, temperature recording. So they take all these ice core samples and they can tell what the weather was throughout Earth's history. What do you think of that science? Would you prefer to believe the Zionist, Illuminati, globalist controlled media and the weapon systems that they're installing and the chemicals dumped in the sky that you and I can see? Or do you want to believe technology? Scientific data that they don't want you to know about. So let me take a break from this and show a couple more short videos of my trip to Florida. Quite interesting. October 21st. That's north. I'm in Georgia. This is looking south. And looking up in the sky, the big X's. Only Sky Spring right there. See? I'll pan around. Now over here, towards the west, way off in the south, but right here towards the east, all these big X's. Nothing off towards north. Here in Georgia, heading to Florida, monitoring the Sky Spring. November 21st, Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, 2018. Rick Miracle heading south on Highway 75. Noticing the sky, the dumping of chemicals, non-continuous lines, helter-skelter crossing each other. Not everywhere, not continuous, as you can see. This is looking north, the way I just came. So they seem to be spraying in patches, as you can see, low on the horizon. Off that way towards the east, there's a lot of dumped chemicals. Heading south, a big X and other spread apart lines I call splotches. Notice these lines are not continuous. There's a little line over there, nothing there, a bunch of them over here. So all across America, being sprayed like we're bugs. Why? Could it be weaponized? Could they add an ingredient tomorrow, a biological weapon? What's going on? Inquiring minds want to know. At least my inquiring mind wants to know. Here at the rest stop. I-95, 75. 2018, about 1:21 on this Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm heading to Florida. Actually, I just crossed the Florida border and I'm at the Welcome Center. Florida welcomes you. But in the sky, even in Florida, North Carolina, Georgia. Everywhere I go, they're dumping chemicals in the sky. None of this looks like clouds, by the way, FYI. So I thought I could escape. I moved to Maine, I moved to North Carolina, I went out to Santa Fe, New Mexico. In the last 10 years, I've been discovering they're spraying everywhere. I've been posting videos on YouTube since 2011, taking pictures, and then around 2012 or whatever, when the cameras improved, I was posting videos, taking videos, documenting the dumping of chemicals. Why? Geoengineering? Genetic manipulation? It's got to have some effect, and I suspect it's not benevolent. It is controlled, planned. They don't spray everywhere all the time, so it's not normal flight plans. You can watch them spray. Several planes spraying as I pan around here right now that I can see. No doubt about it. You can see the fresh lines everywhere you look. Everywhere you look. Welcome to Florida. Welcome to Toxins in the Air. Rick Miracle reporting. 22nd, Thanksgiving Day 2018. Rick Miracle in Plant City, Florida. Video in the sky, noticing heavy sky spraying, dumping. Oh, my phone cut out. November 22nd, noontime, Plant City, Florida. I noticed this morning heavy evidence of dumping of chemicals in the sky, crisscrossing the sky, which was a pretty blue until they dumped all these chemicals. Here near Tampa, Florida. So my holiday Thanksgiving visiting the family thing from North Carolina, paying attention to the dumping of chemicals all across the country. Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. Thanksgiving Day. Whoever's doing this, they don't tell us what they're dumping or why. Here at the Walmart, picking up some stuff for the family. Noontime, Thanksgiving Day, Plant City, Florida. November 25, 2018, Rick Miracle in Delray, Florida, down by Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Video in the sky so that you can see what I can see. And huge amounts of dumping of chemicals. You can see the lines. Here in the tropical climate, I've noticed a lot of stuff dumped in the sky here this morning. So from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, everywhere I go, they're dumping all these chemicals. You would think that people would be screaming in the streets. But nope, people seem to be ignoring it. I just saw a plane flying low, landing or taking off like this plane right here in this video, not spraying anything. You can see it. Not spraying anything. But you can see that there are intentional dumps in the sky from jet planes. This is pretty ominous. That's a lot of stuff. Blocking out the natural light, sun's rays, frequencies. Here in Delray. Tropical, hot, sunny day, November 25. What are they dumping and why? November 25. Delray Beach. Atlantic Ocean, just north of Fort Lauderdale in Miami. Crazy spraying going on in the sky. Big fat cigar lines of chemicals dumped, painting the entire sky pasty white, along with the clouds that you can see. What the heck are they dumping on humanity, you and me and everybody else? Concerning? You think? Cloud? White dumped chemicals. Clouds? White dumped chemicals. You can see they're straight, long, cigar-looking lines, and they get refreshed, replenished. Jets come by and dump new streams of these chemicals, maybe biologicals. Hi. Rick Miracle video in the sky so that you can see what I can see while I'm on my Thanksgiving vacation in South Florida. All across the country they seem to be dumping these chemicals. Why? November 26th, about 9:30 on this Monday morning. Rick Miracle here in Delray, Florida. And as you can plainly see, spray lines galore all over the sky. Big fat cigar looking lines. Stuff that blows around in the breeze I call splotches, painting the sky pasty white. Here in this little resort golfing condominium community where my friend lives in Delray. Enjoying my little vacation to Florida. Thanksgiving, visiting the family. Going down south to Delray from Tampa. They've been spraying all over Florida. None of what you see is clouds. That should be concerning to anybody, in my opinion. So what are they dumping? And why? And please don't try to say this is incidental, just normal jet exhaust, water vapor. It doesn't look like water vapor. Water vapor would be vapor, like gaseous, puffy, like clouds. Not straight dumped lines of chemicals. So what are they dumping? Why? What are the repercussions? What's in store for we people? Humanity. Questions I ask, but it doesn't seem like too many people are asking these questions. Are people just so far gone? Their minds gone, mind controlled, social conditioning. Why would people be ignoring this? Paul Revere rode through the countryside. The British are coming. The British are coming. It used to be people would pay attention to things that were bad and warn everybody. Anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Rick Miracle reporting on this Monday morning in Florida. November 29th, Thursday, 2018. About 9:15 in the morning, and I have arrived back in the mountains of North Carolina after my trip to Florida, only to see that yet again they are spraying here. Notice the long, straight edge on that massive white stuff, and all the evidence of spray lines embedded in it. So no doubt that everything, it seems, is dumped stuff in the sky. Why would they be doing this? South Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, everywhere. Across the nation, maybe across the world. Geoengineering, changing the weather, controlling the weather, weather warfare. What, why, and who? Should we be asking these questions? I think so. Rick Marico video in the sky so that you can see what I can see here in the mountains of North Carolina. So, in my opinion and analysis, they seem to be controlling the weather. And I know a lot of people living today don't remember, but during the 1920s and 1930s, we had huge devastation of the weather all over the United States, having something called dust bowls and all kinds of other anomalies. So my question is the weather as extreme now as it was back then? And did you know during the Great Depression back then, the whole world was suffering like this after World War I? And the powers that be controlled the U.S. economy and the banking system. They made a deal prior to World War I with the Illuminati Rothschilds, Morgans and Schiffs. But anyways, after World War I, we had this crazy weather and Great Depression. Somebody was economically destroying the world prior to World War I, prior to World War II, and it looks like they'll do the same thing prior to World War III. Look into that. And remember, prior to World War I, you could have been World War II, that one, and the next one World War III, and the next one will be World War IV. Because before that, they had a couple great wars, like the French Revolution, before World War I. And that was to topple the hierarchy there, the leadership there. So they've been having these revolutions, the Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, for the past couple hundred years. There's been this physical secret society attack on leading governments for a couple hundred years. And they've been causing a lot of this craziness, people protesting, marching, jobs. Even things like survive the Dust Bowl. Look at that weather. Have you seen any weather like that these days? So what are you going to believe? What really happened back then that was in all the newspapers? Black blizzard of New Mexico sweeping east. 2 planes make forced landing as black blizzard hides airport. Dust storms rage from Kansas west far as California. So what do you think? Humans caused this? Black gale again howls in southwest. 3-year-old Benson boy survives almost 20 hours in raging dust storm. Just saying. What is really going on? How much homelessness will the people cause this time around? What do people know about history? What do they know about the Cold War and all the governments in the world that were controlled by the secret societies developing all these technological weaponized systems? And they're planning for a global world order for a couple hundred years. So what do you think? 1920s, 1930s? Was that some crazy weather? And then, of course, all the ice core samples that show that the weather goes like this all the time. So do you think today is unique in history of the planet that an emergency actions need to be taken by our governments? Austerity, communism, while they're vying for a global world order. Protocols of Zion, all the other books that I've gone over and made videos on and other people have. Why do people want to be in denial to the truth? This is all controlled scenarios. Look at the weather back then. Is our weather today like this? Kind of a depressing situation, you think? But apparently, unless we all wake up, what's that old saying? You ain't seen nothing yet. I guess World War III will be the war of all wars. Bizarre, insane. Just saying. Seems concerning to me. So I'll have to continue this material with another video because I have several documents I did not review, including all those people massing at the Mexican border, all this distraction going on, and all this propaganda trying to get the people and the government officials to take emergency actions because of climate change caused by you and me. Do you believe it? And they don't mention anything about the electromagnetic systems coming online and the towers everywhere and the HARP transmitters and the dumping of chemicals in the sky, etc., etc. What can those things do? What are they doing? Thank you for watching my video. Rick Marrico reporting.